So today, I want to share with you 10 ways that you can go from zero to your first sale for those of you who have started your business or who are getting or in the process of starting that business. And to do that, I want to talk first about the kind of the progression of advertising in general. If you take a look at this chart, this is a little chart that I put together that is based off of a speech that a guy named David Trott gave. And David Trott is a very famous ad man from Great Britain. And if you listen to him, he's really fun to listen to. And he's kind of like Rory Sutherland. Rory Sutherland has this kind of a canned pitch that he's been given for about the last 10 years. But he's got these stories. He's got basically like these 6 or 8 stories that he's been telling for the last 10 years to explain the value of behavioral science in advertising. And David Trott, also a Brit, he has the same kind of canned speech. So anything you watch from him, he kind of goes through the same series of things. And this is one of the charts that he's constantly drawing on his little, on his little blackboard. And he said, when we think about advertising, and not all the way back to word of mouth, but just back to when they started purchasing media advertising, he said, you got your little, like your consumer right there in the middle. And then we kind of started out advertising with print media, right? Once we had the printing press and we were putting out stuff, we had to find a way to pay for it. And so out came press ads. And then from there, we started sending stuff through the mail. And we had Sears catalogs and all of these different catalog producers who would send the catalogs out, and you would tell people what you want. Then they'd send it through the mail to you. Then we had, today we still have direct mail, but it's much smaller than it used to be. And from there, we had the advent of television and newspaper. Well, newspaper would be in press ads as well. Then we had television, right? And of course, television, when it first came out and they started running ads on there, it was going to kill off all the other media. Oh, everybody's just going to be in television. Then, of course, television gave way to the digital era, Google ads, and Yahoo ads, email, right? Email advertising. That's gonna, and what they say, email is gonna kill off direct mail. It's gonna end all direct mail. You're not gonna see it anymore. Certainly, you see less of it because email is a lot cheaper, but it's also a lot less effective when done nowadays because they have so much spam that gets sent to us every single day. Then from the digital era spawned social media. That was, of course, going to kill off all other media. But now the cost of Facebook ads and Google ads, and YouTube ads, all this stuff is so high as to be cost prohibitive. And then, of course, we don't know what's going to happen next, right? So you follow that all the way around in the circle, whatever the next thing is. Maybe it's blockchain. I don't know. But of course, there's going to be some new form of advertising that's going to supposedly kill off all other forms of advertising. And here's this is the really interesting what Dave said is, Dave said, what's the one thing that what's the one constant throughout history when it comes to advertising? When it comes to what's the one constant in all of this? And of course, it's the consumer right in the middle. Everything else orbits around him. And this is what Dave said. Dave said, your consumer is the media. Everything else is just a delivery system. And that's the way I want you to think about this today, is that whatever we talk about, one of the biggest misconceptions that we have as entrepreneurs is that the best way or the only way for us to reach our audience is through the internet. Now, I will admit to you, the internet has been a wonderful thing that has allowed us to grow and to expand and will allow you to reach a much larger audience than you would otherwise be able to, because it allows local to go national and local to go international in many cases. But don't assume that that is the only or the best way for you to reach your ideal customer. We got to be very careful and pick the delivery system that's going to be the most effective for you getting to that first sale. Number 1, tap your existing networks. I'm talking about your friends and family, your coworkers, and allow them to use their distribution systems, their networks, their delivery system to spread through word of mouth what you're doing. Now, I am not suggesting that you like multi-level marketing where the first people you try and sell to are your family, unless it's something that would be really good. I'll give you an example of this. When I lived in Los Angeles, My wife had a coworker who decided they really wanted to open up a bagel shop. But of course, they couldn't afford in California, especially in Los Angeles, to go and rent space and start the bagel shop and all of that. It'd be a huge nightmare for them and very expensive, cost prohibitive. So what they did was they started baking them in their homes. And of course, they couldn't afford to, to just do them all the time, right? They couldn't just run the business 24/7. So what they would do was they would cook up all of the bagels on a Friday night after they got done from work. And the preceding week, they would take orders from a specific part of the city. So one week they'd say, okay, we're going to do Santa Monica, and we're going to do Palisades, and that's where we're going to go. And so if you live in that area and you'd like some bagels, you can order from us. What would you like? And another week they do our area, they do West Hollywood, they do Hollywood, and they just kind of moved around the city that way. And they cook up the bagels either Friday night or Saturday morning. And then by Saturday mid-morning, you'd have fresh bagels delivered straight to your door. And guess how they promoted and built that business? Through Instagram, through their friends who would order bagels from them and then tell everybody they knew that they just gotten orders. It's called Rosie's Bagels if you happen to live there. They're excellent. They're amazing bagels. And right before we left to move to Scottsdale, she had left her job, and they were now looking at finding a kitchen that they could begin to expand their business out of. Second, reach out to people with existing audiences in non-competitive niches. See, whatever it is that you do, there's somebody else in another business that is highly, that's not competitive. It's highly complementary to yours. I'll give you an example. I've been trying to get a real estate agent to do this forever, and some of them probably do, but everyone I talk to is trying to build a real estate business. I'm talking about like a real estate agent. Every time I talk to them and they're trying to grow their business, I said, well, what I would do is I would go and find people in businesses similar to that, like insurance and title companies, but everybody does those. But I said, I'd also do like carpet cleaners and plumbers. Like who are the network of people that I need to have that I want to have relationships with so that I can both share business with them and they can share business with me. I gave a speech a few years ago at a mortgage lenders conference, and I actually went into detail on how I would do this. And I listed out every conceivable sort of like person, like radon specialist and, termite person mitigator, carpet cleaner, painters, anything, roofers, remodelers, anything like that I could think of. I would want strategic relationships with as many of those people as possible. Now that just requires that you get out there and start shaking some hands, finding the people who are really good at what they do, who would love a referral from you, and then keeping that database and handing those referrals out when you have the opportunity to do so. Number 3, build relationships with businesses owners in complementary products or offerings. This is similar, but not quite the same thing. So let's say that you are a personal trainer and you're trying to find people that you would like to train or that would like to train you. It would be a really good idea to go and find some people who are already in, say, the nutrition space or in the massage therapy space, or somebody who owns one of those new IV drip companies, which are really popular, and just let them know who you are. Offer them a cut. I mean, what's a personal trainer cost now? Like $100 an hour or something? Offer them $25 of a cut if they'll send somebody your way. That could be hundreds and hundreds of extra dollars in this person's pocket for doing nothing but giving a referral out. Number 4, begin building your own distribution channels. This is the biggest mistake that I see new entrepreneurs make, is that they wait until they have a product before they start building a distribution channel. Now, what do I mean by that? That's what David Trott talks about when he says a delivery system. The distribution channel is the group of people that you have around you that already know, like, and trust you. So we're talking about mailing lists, groups, starting a podcast, anything where you can bring people together who are already interested in what you're doing. That way, when you actually do build the business out and you get and you've got the product ready to go, you can say, "Hey guys, I got this thing. Here you go." I did that with my first business. I was living in Afghanistan, and I didn't know what I was going to do with this thing, but I'd gotten to be a pretty good trader and I was making some good returns. And I had been trying to put a list together of people because I thought, well, maybe I could sell something to them later. And I had gone to a forum called Forex Factory. And if you are in the Forex business, I think it's still around and I think people still use it, but it was one of those old school forums. And I had started doing a video every single Friday every single weekend where I would talk about what was going to happen next week in the currency markets and where I thought certain currencies were going to go. It was about a 20-minute video that I would put out and I would just like create and put it on my website. Well, I went to the guys at Forex Factory and I said, hey, I've got this thing. I said, there's no pitch in it. I'm not making an offer to anybody, not selling anything. But I was wondering if you would allow me to like post this to the network. And not only did they allow me to post it to their forum, but they also put it in a special area so that more people would see it. And at the end of every video, it was the worst pitch ever. I just said, hey guys, well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, hey, thanks a lot. Just send me a note, let me know. And hey, if you guys want me to just email this to you rather than having to come here and find it every single week, just click on this link, send me your email address and I'll send it out to you. And over the course of 3 or 4 months, that's how long it took, guys, 3 or 4 months, I acquired about 100 people on my email list. And I decided I would create this program where every time I took a trade, I would email everybody exactly what the trade was, where my stops were, where my targets were. And I said, if you'll pay me $250 a month, I'll send you every trade that I take right after I take it. And I sent it out to the 100 people. Again, worst pitch you've ever heard because I knew nothing about selling at that point. I said, hey, here's the deal. I got this. If you want to, you guys have been following me for a while. If you want me to send you the trades, I will. It's $250 a month. Boom. I got 10 people to take me up on that offer. Now that's a ridiculously high conversion rate. So don't go thinking that those are it should be expected numbers. I mean, if I'd have gotten 1 to say yes, it would have been impressive, but I got 10. And instantly, like overnight, literally overnight, I had a $30,000 a year business. While I was already working my other business downrange as a security contractor. But build those distribution channels and start today. That way, when it comes time to sell your product, you've got somebody to sell it to. Send free product to influencers in your space. So this is something that Ken Madden, who's part of our community, does really well. Their company has isolated and found some really big influencers online, and they send them lots of free product. And those influencers in turn talk about the product and promote the product for them, which leads to more sales. Well, you don't have to wait until you got a big company like Ken to do that. You can find those influencers in your space and send them stuff for free and let them promote it. And here's the thing, if it's a really good product, which it should be, right? You shouldn't be producing crap and then sending it to people and expecting them to promote it. But if you send a really good product to somebody that improves their lives, that they really enjoyed, man, of course they're going to talk about it. It might take you 2 or 3 or 4 times to find somebody who's really willing to go the extra mile for you, but that can be the difference between making no money your first year and making $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000. It can be very significant. Next up, cold call, DM, or email. Yeah, it's nuts. Nobody likes doing it, but it is effective. If you know that you have a product that can help people, you have a service that can help people, oftentimes just picking up the phone and dialing. Call it dialing for dollars. That was how I told you I'm checking out a platform today, that a new platform that may work for us moving forward if you're part of the network. Guess how he found me? He sent me a private direct message on LinkedIn. He said, hey man, I see that you're in the coaching space. I don't know what you're doing, but I have this product and would really love to talk to you if you're looking for a solution. It didn't send me one of those super cheesy things that was like, we as entrepreneurs, oftentimes we think that that crap. And I was like, hey man, I looked at your profile. You are in this niche. We are looking for people in this niche because we have a solution that we think solves a problem that a lot of people have. If you're interested, I would love to talk to you. And that created a back and forth conversation that he and I had. And he didn't immediately try and get me on the phone. I explained we're a startup. We don't have a lot of money. The network is completely free. And so we cannot afford to pay $3 or $6 a month per user. I said, this is the solution we have now. And here's what I pay per user on the platform. And he said, okay, great. He said, thanks. He said, can you answer a few more questions for me? I'm sorry, I don't want to waste either of our times if this doesn't work. And I said, no, those are great questions. Those are the questions you should be asking because I don't want my time wasted either. And we drilled all the way down to active users per month and what we were paying for active users per month. And he said, if that's where you're at, we should talk because I think we can be competitive and give you some extra stuff that you're looking for. That's the way you do it. You reach out through cold call, through email, through direct message, and you highly target the people that would be a really good fit. And I want you, if you're going to do this, I really want you to be very specific about it. It is far better for you to send 25 direct messages rather than using some sort of third-party software just to like smash everybody that you run into. Because all we're trying to do, again, is get from 0 to 1. And in order to do that, we're oftentimes going to have to do the things that don't scale. You're not going to be able to DM everybody for the rest of your time, right? You can't be sending cold emails one at a time or doing cold calling yourself for years and years and years into the business. Don't worry about that because the things that don't scale are what get you from 0 to 1. They're the things that get you from 1 to 1,000 a month. Then once we got some money rolling in, we got a little bit of capital. Now we can start looking at, okay, how do we ramp this thing up? How do we hire? When is it time to scale? And how are we going to do that? Putting those processes in place, they're going to allow you to scale. If you're not there yet and you're just trying to figure out how to sell this thing, well, you don't need to worry about some sort of big convoluted system that you want to create in order to generate traffic and push them through some sales funnel pipeline and pop out the other end. Just get some money in the door because what it's going to do is it's going to give you feedback. People are going to tell you what they like, what they don't like. They're going to let you know if it was too expensive. They're going to give you the objections inside that your product or service needs to solve if it wants to be in a position to be doing enough business that it needs to have those systems in place. Next, we've got write for a niche publication or blog. We have someone in our community who's doing that right now. His name's Drew Holmes. Drew owns a couple of music stores, successful guy. And he's been trying to find a way to reach more people. And so he's got a niche publication that he's been writing about music and the music industry, the stuff that he's involved with. And they just picked him up as a regular columnist in their little newsletter magazine thing that they've got going on now. If they might offer to pay you, that's fine, but offer to do it for free. Do without the expectation of return. Know that if you promote yourself and you get yourself out there and you do the work in the beginning, that it's going to yield profit. It's going to yield you a return on the back end. Next, we've got answer Reddit questions related to your industry. I've been doing this for about the last 2 months. It has led to a lot of growth in our little community. I go in and I spend about 30 minutes a day scrolling through and trying to find posts that I can answer. And I only answer the ones that I actually know something about. I don't just go in there and give opinions on stuff. So when I do write a reply to something someone gave me, it's a longer reply. Like I try and really give them some value in my comment. And then after I get done, where applicable, like so if the guy's asking about something and I can somehow tie it into our network, I'll say I'm part of this network and I think it would be valuable for you. There's someone in the network named X, Y, and Z. Here's a link to their profile. I would highly suggest that you reach out to them and yada, yada. And then I link to the network. And I get a lot of people who come back and say, dude, thanks for the response. And I'm going to check out the network or I just signed up. That's another way that I'm building my system organically. Other people go on sites like Quora, which is a question and answer site. And it's also a great way, by the way, both Reddit and Quora are a great way to find out what people in your industry are actually concerned with. Number 9, knock and flyer campaigns. Don't discount them. If you have a local business and you're, for example, we use pressure washing. For some reason, that is a big business now, mobile pressure washing, mobile detailing. You know they're homeowners or business owners. Grab the kids on a Friday afternoon or a Friday evening and go around and shove flyers into, you can't put them in mailboxes, that's illegal, but you can put them on doors, hand them out at the grocery store, go out and send, you can put mailers in the mail, but that's a little bit more expensive. Knock on doors and businesses and just say, hey, just want to introduce myself, right? Don't ask for business. Just come in and say, just hand them a thing. Say, hey, just want to introduce myself. I'm around if you need me. Thanks so much. Move on to the next one. Start establishing relationships, getting to know the people in the neighborhoods, in the areas where you want to be of service. Again, we're getting from 0 to 1. How do I get the first sale? How do I get that first testimonial? How do I deliver on my product or service to that first person? Whatever it takes, for however long it takes, because the payoff is huge. Now, number 10, host a pop-up store or rent booth space at flea markets or farmers markets. Now, again, this costs you a little bit of money. It's not free, but it is a great opportunity. Now, a pop-up store, I didn't even know what these were. In the middle of the country, you don't really have these like you do on at least the West Coast. I don't know if they do them in New York. I'm sure they do. But a pop-up store is just like a store that's there for like a month. And maybe it's a clothing designer who just wants to showcase some of their designs and try and make a little bit of money so they can go and design some more clothes. It might be a company that decides that they're going to try and expand into a market and they want to see what the demand for their type of product might be, like a clothing store. So let's say I have a store in Venice and I want to expand it to Santa Monica and open up a store in Santa Monica. Well, what I might do is put a pop-up there for a month and see how much traffic comes in, see how much money we generate, and that'll tell me whether or not it's a good idea to expand my store. Well, if you're just trying to get to that first sale, having a little pop-up store to display your wares might be a good idea. Another option is flea markets and farmers markets. There's so many people are doing this on our network that they've asked me to create a special group for people who sell this. So we're going to talk, we're going to call it the Selling Local group. So it's anybody who sells through flea markets or farmers markets or pop-up stores, and so that they can talk about best practices. Because we've got one couple that's doing coffee, another one that's selling hot sauce. We've got some other folks who are homesteading, and so they're selling vegetables and other fruits and stuff at these events. And these happen sometimes once a week. You can be doing something every single Saturday, just going around to different ones. And so that's another way to take it to the next level. The folks who've got the coffee company are just crushing, and they're just doing it out of their kitchen right now. It's pretty amazing. And yeah, there are obstacles and it's going to suck for a while, but there's something about that first dollar. I remember, again, back when I was online and I sent that email and I got 10 people to sign up for my thing. Once I got some money for what I was doing, my whole world opened up. I'm like, oh, it is real. Like, people do make money doing this. You can send an email and people will give you money. It's eye-opening. That I didn't have to go find somebody to pay me to do a job, that I could go out and build a reputation and build the product and make the offer, and I didn't need anybody else to help me do that. It was the first time I realized that I could be truly self-sufficient, that I could truly be in control of my own destiny. And I think a lot of people feel trapped, whether it's the pretty good job trap where it's just like, my job's too good to quit. There's not enough pain there for me to actually want to go somewhere else and put in the effort. Or whether it's a job where you want out so desperately, but you're trapped because you need the paycheck, you need the money, you can't afford to let go of it, and you don't see any way out. And for a lot of people, they've just resigned themselves to that life. And I'm here to tell you, there's something magical about that first dollar. And those of you who are listening who have already achieved that, I'd invite you to come onto the network and share your story. Here's how I made my first dollar. I think it would be exciting to hear all of the different people, all the different stories, all the different ways that we went out and were able to make their first dollar on their own. The first little sliver of independence. Until next time, guys, be safe, be good. I'll talk to you then.